Three Grots in a Vox is intended for a mature audience. This means there will be crude language and discussions of adult themes, especially if we're talking about Tactical Marines or Gabriel Seth. Viewer discretion is not only advised but encouraged. All opinions are our own and often given for humorous purposes. Any advice is given largely for entertainment purposes and would probably be ignored. But if you do learn something useful, count it as a win.
Hello and welcome, sports fans, to the latest episode of Three Grots in a Vox, where we're talking about what we're enjoying playing, except John, who's having a bad time playing Blood Angels, happy letting everybody know about it, and isn't having any fun whatsoever in anything. Or am I wrong?
I'm having some fun.
Are we getting to the point now where it'd be quicker to list the people that haven't beaten you than the people that...
Oh, God.
Okay, I mean, yeah,
Rather,
sure.
for the programmer
like
on the
10 seconds
thing.
in, fucking hell. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done that. My bad.
No, it's fine. Let me know once you've played 15 Flavors of the Inch, if you still have the will to live or not.
Watching that MetaWatch video today, where they're like, yeah, we think the Flamers are going to get nerfed. Can't imagine why. Was fairly unsurprising. So
I haven't seen that yet. I've been working, so I haven't had a chance to watch it.
So the usual guy who does the interview has been booted off for whatever reason, and the guy who writes the rules is doing the interviewing, and he's interviewing Mike Brandt, who's their head of organised play and former organiser and founder of all the Adepticon.
Is he the guy that recently went to a tournament and went like 5-0 for losing?
That's the writer guy who's hosting the interview. Yeah.
Right.
I think he must have
just
been...
the guy you want to balance things, then, yeah.
I think he must have been going for fun / testing.
I'm fairly. It's pretty obvious he didn't turn up with the killer list expecting to beat everything, because he went in with a shit list and didn't win a game, and I assume interacted with a load of fans and players and had played some games.
Did you see the guy that took a Thunderhawk and 2 Astraeus to a tournament?
So someone took 3 Astraeus.
No, I didn't see that.
Someone linked us in the Discord, and they put a Thunderhawk, and this was their whole force was a super heavy detachment of a Thunderhawk and 2 Astraeus, and it took it to the Texas Open or something, one of these big tournaments, and surprisingly managed to win 2 games.
That does sound like fun. And since what we're aiming for with Three Grots more and more at the moment is finding the fun in gaming, rather than just being hyper-competitive stuff, we'll leave this to this weird little Blood Angel Comander channel that appears to be doing all right these days. So how many subscribers are you on at the moment, John?
Just past 11,200. It's kind of mind-blowing, actually, that it just keeps growing. I mean, I'm very happy, don't get me wrong, but it's also mind-blowing that 11,000... I mean, I put a bit of pressure on myself when I have a shitty tournament result, and I'm thinking, like, why do people subscribe to me? I gotta get better at this game.
You put cracking stuff out, dude. You pay attention to it, you focus on it, you give some insight, and you're clearly passionate about what you do.
Yeah, I have a breakdown that's coming out about all my games at this recent GT, so I guess people can check that out, and hopefully they learn something. I mean, that's the point of the channel, right?
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, my next tournament on Sunday will be a Blood Bowl tournament. It'll be my first Blood Bowl tournament. It'll be 3 games in a day, and I'm going to turn up and play faster than I've ever played before and probably lose horribly. And then I've got another one 2 weeks later.
How long is like in a competitive scene? How much time do you get per turn for Blood Bowl, or how much time does a game take?
That is something that's addressed later in this. That is mentioned, but it's very fast. It's very fast. Blood Bowl.
Do you want to borrow my things to take to your tournament?
If you want to drop them down here. No, I don't really. Thank you. I've spent all the time and effort painting up and practicing and playing with the Wood Elves. That's what I'm going to take.
You mean you actually want to win?
We've bored the fuck out of John already. He's decided to leave.
No, keep going. Keep going.
Look, check it out.
Ooh, necromantic horrors, the werewolves and the whites, and oh god, that's an old Blood Bowl.
How about that, baby?
Is it open? Is it still sealed?
Is it still sealed? No, it's this is your board.
Wow.
On that same note, I've ordered it, but annoyingly it hasn't turned. I've managed to get hold of a first edition copy of Blood Bowl.
Okay.
But I was hoping it'd turn up for tonight, and it hasn't. It's still stuck in the post.
The size board for that, just be aware, has differed slightly across the versions. So the range ruler that goes with that board won't go with the more modern boards because the squares are a slightly different size, essentially.
This is second edition Blood Bowl, by the way.
Came out in the 90s.
I was going to say, last time I played it, would have been this.
Yeah, I played that one as well. So, yeah.
What is Blood Bowl? Blood Bowl is American football with a lot more violence and elves and orcs and dwarves and humans. It's the old classic Warhammer fantasy stuff rather than the New Age of Sigmar stuff, and it doesn't take itself seriously in the slightest.
Yes. My last experience of Blood Bowl was so long ago, you used to be able to poison the water of the enemy team.
Still do that.
You can still do that.
Yeah,
okay.
you can still do that. You can bribe the ref. You can foul people. You can bring goblins to chuck bombs at people. You can hire wizards from the stands to just cast fireballs and lightning bolts into the pitch.
Okay, that sounds fun.
You can make a halfling cook to demoralize your opponent's team by them smelling the quality of your food and just being really angry and hungry and not being able to get any of it. It's full of stupidity and it's great fun. Yeah, ultimately, if people aren't dying in Blood Bowl, it might not be Blood Bowl, which is the way it goes, really. We managed to convince Tony to get into a game of this recently. You may or may not be aware of this, and he seems to have enjoyed it enough that he's bought a second team.
Yeah. Which
is fairly cool. We'll take that. The rules for Blood Bowl
may or may not have also bought those really expensive metal bases for them.
What, off Charlie Victor?
Yeah.
Good. Got a lot of time for that guy. He makes some very, very good stuff. Yeah, Blood Bowl, the rules of it, they're easy to get hold of. You can buy them in a starter set, which is really good value, with 2 full teams on the board and all the gubbins you need. Or you just buy the rule book on its own. Or you can buy an electronic version of it to go on your tablet or your mobile. Workshop have actually done a good job in supplying all the stuff you need on this one in multiple ways and accessibility.
Is it compatible with the previous edition? Because this is second edition of the new Blood Bowl, isn't it?
So, in a way, yes. In another way, no. All the models that you've got, all the stuff that you've got, is all compatible. They've changed the stat line ever so slightly of players from Blood Bowl to Blood Bowl second season edition.
But say you had the old box set, if you just bought the new rule book, you'd be fine.
If you had the box set before this, not an older one than that. Maybe an older one than that. And you just bought the new rulebook. Yes. The size of the board is still the same. The templates are still the same. The range ruler is still the same. The width of the range ruler for purposes of interceptions and deflections is still the same. The only thing you'd be missing are the summary sheets, which you could make your own or find a fan-made one on Reddit or something and download that and print it off, which is what I did. And that's exactly what I've done. I got the version of Blood Bowl before this, 2016 version, and then just bought the rulebook to bring it up to date.
So what do I need to buy? Because I've got the second edition box here.
For you,
the third edition box set, John.
Probably that second season edition box set in the middle would be the best one to give you a good start. You get 2 good teams to play with. Yeah, they come with an extra big guy, an ogre and a troll in there. They come with a star player each. You get all the rules. You get all the dice you need. You get the dugouts. You get all the templates. It's really good value.
And does it still take like an hour to 2 hours to play?
So if you're playing casually, and we will get, I'll address this a little bit further later on, how long it's going to take. But an average casual game, you could take about 3 hours if you're being focused on it. It can take up to 4 hours if you're literally just having a laugh and getting up and getting drinks all the way through.
Okay.
It took us about 3 hours to play a half.
Yeah, but let's be fair, that was your first game.
Yeah. And I spent more time trying to foul you than I did actually.
We were looking up a lot of the rules as we were going for all of your crazy, snotling, tricky bullshit stuff, which was really funny. And I really want to get a snotling team now. But there you go. Yeah, we taught Tony how to play it over the space of a day. In Warhammer World, we played some games of 7s, which is the same as Blood Bowl, but with less turns, less players, and a smaller pitch. And then had a quick half of it after that. The basics are you roll some dice, you see if people get knocked over, if they get injured, you roll some injury, then you move on. You move a player, then you move another player, then you move another player. And if at any time you fuck up, That's it. Your turn's over, and your turn goes over to the other player. And the rest of it is sort of expanding upon that. Really?
Really? Yeah.
Not much more to it than that. Having said that it's easy to learn the basics of the rules, the amount of teams you can play is enormous. Obviously, that is just 18 of them, but there are actually 29 different teams in the game at the moment across all the ones GW produce, off the ones that they have produced in the past and have legacy rules for. And one team that they sort of produced in the past but don't have legacy rules for, but the community maintains legacy rules for because they like them, because Slan are weird and strange and creepy.
Do they still maintain rules then for Chaos Dwarfs?
Yes, they do.
I remember that
they are freely available as a PDF download on the Warhammer community website called Teams of Legend. Chaos Dwarves are a fully playable.
So if you buy a team for like $31 here, is that you good to go, or do you ever need to add more characters and models to the team?
Again, that will be addressed shortly. But in brief here, mentioning something else there at the top. There's 5 rough play styles you can have with across the many different teams. There's the ultra-violent ones, often called bash teams. There's the slightly more resilient or defensive ones who try and control what's going on by not being as vulnerable to pain, even though everybody's vulnerable to pain in this. There's the middle-of-the-road average ones who can do fast stuff if they want to, or do punchy stuff if they want to. Then you've got dash teams who are all about speed and agility, but generally can't take a hit to save their life, which doesn't happen very often. And then you've got the weird and wonderful, tricky teams like the Snotlings, who are utterly weak and pathetic and piddly, but so annoying to play against. And they've got so many dirty tricks up their sleeve, they're just fun.
I did see they won 4 tournaments over the course of 2021.
Yeah.
Which blew my mind.
There you go. There you got a troll. You got
I might have bought another troll as well.
I bought another troll. Okay. There's some Goblin Star players you want to look at as well. Apparently, Bomber Dribble Snot is particularly powerful these days.
Mm. And Fungus the Loon.
Yeah. Him with the ball and chain. He's always good. Excellent.
I went on a bit of a spree.
No, perfectly fair. So if you were to buy, say, your average Games Workshop team for approximately 27 quid from a discounting third-party retailer such as our affiliate Element Games, which I'm sure somebody will put a handy link to in the video description, it might even be me, then yes, you've got enough to play the game with. It's not the full range of choice that you can build a team out of, but it is enough to play the game with. If you wanted to push it a little bit further, then you could buy a second copy of the team. You could buy a big guy monster to go with them, and you could buy some other little players just to round out the roster choices. You can only have 16 players on your roster, and you can only have 11 players on the field at any one time. But that will give you all the choice you need with which you can play the game fully. Get them all painted, choose which ones you're going to take to a tournament at any given day, which ones you're going to start with the league with. That's sort of the cost you're looking at to get started with this.
Okay, so if you have one of the big guys, I assume that you can't field the whole team of them, right? Like there's some sort of rule to.
Yeah,
go on.
Sorry, it depends on the team you're playing, because, for example, each team has got a number of big guys that you can bring, but some of them are lean more heavily than others on them. So, like the ogre team, you can build. I think you can build a team with just 6 ogres. So
and round the rest of the team out with goblins. The orc team has to be. You can have one. They have like restrictions. So you have linemen, you have blitzers, you have throwers, you have catchers, and all this sort of stuff. Regular linemen, you can take 16 of them if you want to. Then you can have a maximum of 2 blitzers, maximum of 2 throwers, a maximum of 4 Black Orc blockers in this case, and a maximum of 1 troll if you wanted to. So the limits are in the rosters and rules for the particular team that you're looking at.
Okay, so like my Snotlings can take 2 trolls.
Yeah, but they are fucking stupid.
I was going to say, this is reminding me of, it's been like 30 years since I played this game, but when you said blitzers there, I was like, oh yeah, I remember these restrictions.
Going back into it, yeah. Such a good game. There's also, if you want to go into it, there was a period where Workshop weren't massively supporting Blood Bowl, so people were started to sculpt and 3D print huge amounts of teams for it. So there's loads of quality STLs and things you can order off Etsy or eBay for 3D printed teams for all sorts of races and variants of them. You could get Amazons who look like Greek hoplites. You could get Norse teams that look like they're like proper space pirate. There's a space biker dwarf gang team that you can get for Blood Bowl as well. There's some really cool stuff in here. You got the
So have they got like
rocket pack.
separate rules, or are they kind of proxies for current teams that do have rules? If that makes sense.
That's right. Yes. So they were designed as proxy or replacement models for teams that either have rules or that didn't have rules, but the fan community were maintaining rules for. There's an organization called the NAF, which is like the ITC but for Blood Bowl. They do all the tournament stuff. They support things. They track things. They collate winnings data and all this sort of stuff. And they were maintaining all of this sort of like the old team rules before Workshop had a resurgence of interest for Blood Bowl with specialist games. And then they did Blood Bowl and Blood Bowl second season, and they've been supporting it very solidly since then.
Yeah, I think the same can be said like Necromunda. Necromunda has so many releases now that I can't keep up, you know? I bought the box set to try and get back into it, and I'm like looking at my gang, and I'm like, oh my god, how many releases have they done?
Necromunda,
I've got
Aeronautica,
Ashwaste
Titanicus, all of that stuff. The specialist games have been doing really, really well.
Yeah, and I like that, because, you know, sometimes you want to just play something smaller. Not that I ever find myself with that luxury, but I did sometimes feel like I...
We'll have to find... We were trying to decide what Blood Bowl team we thought would suit you best. I can't remember if we came to a conclusion.
I don't think we did. I mean, there's a little bit of it that just says immediately Khorne.
Yeah, because they're brutal, melee, violent, red-coloured psychopaths.
So the old, super old rulebooks, this is what I tried to paint. The Middenheim Marauders. Are they still a team, or are they long gone?
They are the name of a human team. You can have a human team. You can call them that if you want to. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I just painted them because they were one of the ones that was in the starter set, I guess. But yeah, no, I remember playing the Middenheim Marauders. Back in this edition, I think you just got 2 human teams.
Okay. You might well have done. I thought it was always humans and orcs as far back as I can remember, but I might be mistaken.
Those human. Oh, you're right. It's humans and orcs. It's the orcs. If you could see this, like they are like proper, like almost like Hero Quest orcs. Like they're very early sculpts.
Replicas of those particular orcs are fairly popular for people who want to make sort of old style teams with these days.
I think they were called the Orcland Raiders. Was that right?
Sounds about right.
A nice play on a NFL team name there.
That'd be a lot of fun to paint up, they would.
Oh, yeah. Do a nice team of them. Contrast, bash through it fairly quickly. Like nobody we know. Yeah, absolutely.
Would never do that.
Indeed. Game modes you can play, but essentially you can play one-off games where you just build a roster, either just to have a quick game against your mate or to go to a tournament. Tournaments tend to say, instead of starting with the usual 1 million gold, they'll bump it up to 1.1 million or 1.2 million to give you a little bit of extra gold to play with, to buy more players, to buy different players, to buy star players with, and allow you a few extra skills just to sort of make your team a little bit less vanilla and have more customization. So that's something that's worth bearing in mind if you're interested. There's also a full league and campaign system in the game, so you can get star player points or XP for doing things like every casualty you inflict upon the opposing team, every touchdown you score, every time you get a successful pass, all that sort of stuff. You can get XP for them, and then random players will get MVPs at the end of the match. And it costs different amount of star player points to get different levels of skills, whether they're natural to your player or not, really. Or an actual
star player
increase.
Points related to star players, or are they just another name for experience?
They are just another name for experience.
So how does that work then in a league with star players? Do you buy them? Do they gain experience? Or
in a league, star players are sort of bought on a match by match basis as mercenaries. If there's a massive difference in team value between your team and somebody else's team, you get sort of gold to make up that difference, and you can spend that on various inducements. They're called like bribes, like Budweiser beer babes to help your team not be as KO'd as they otherwise would be, wizards, or star players to turn up on a one match basis.
And are they cheaper if you buy them for one match than if you buy them for the whole team roster sort of thing? Or
No. In a league, you cannot buy a star player just flat out for your roster. You used to be able to, but you can't anymore these days. They try and make them a bit more rare. Blood Bowl 7s is an alternate version of the game that I've mentioned. It's a wonderful version of the game. Instead of being 11 players, it's 7 players per side. Instead of being 8 turns, it's 6 turns per half. And the pitch is smaller and narrower, so it's a lot quicker to play. And a lot easier to just fit in whenever you want to and need to.
So does 7, like if you buy that core set, are you getting 7s there, or do you have to buy 7 separately?
So you buy the core set for the rules and all the templates that you need. Then separately, you can buy a 7s pitch for it, which comes in a pitch and the 7s dugouts.
I see.
For an extra, I don't know, 30 quid or so, whatever it was.
yeah, I think I just ordered it. I think I paid like 26 quid or something through a third-party retailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Element Games, was it by any chance? Or affiliate, you might think.
You might think that.
Go figure. There's another variant of the game called Dungeon Bowl, which uses all the basic rules of Blood Bowl, but this is a self-contained box. You don't need to buy anything else to play this. It's got all the dice, all the templates, it's got all the rule book you need in it. Although the base rules are exactly the same as Blood Bowl, the main difference is the board you play on, how that all works, and how you score.
The teams looked weird as well, because I looked at this and I was trying to figure it out, because the teams, rather than being teams, seem to be like just a hodgepodge mixture of players.
Yeah,
from everything.
They've given them flavour. I don't know what the purpose is behind it, whether it like harkens back to old Dungeon Bowl variants, or Workshop just want to get you to try and buy more teams and put them together in little sort of mixes of them to get you to spend a bit more money than you otherwise would have.
Mm-hmm.
They're all based around magic colleges. So the College of Life has goblins and wood elves and Nurgle all working together, which makes no sense to me from a fluff point of view, but apparently it works. Then you've got the College of Earth, which is dwarves and ogres and other stuff in there together. I can't remember what they all were. But it's made out of tiles. You can set the dungeon up in however many configurations you want to. Oh, slow down a bit. There are 6 treasure chests scattered around the dungeon, and there are portals as well that you can jump into, and you'll come out of a random other portal somewhere in the dungeon. One or more of the treasure chests is going to have the ball in it, and you don't know which one until you get there and open it. And it might explode, it might do nothing, it might have a portal in it, or it might have the ball. And then you've got to carry the ball all the way to the other player's starting zone to score. So it's another fun little variant of the game, essentially.
Sounds insane. Looks
Can
insane.
you play
as well.
this with a normal team, or do you have to make one of these kind of weird hybrid teams? Because that's what I couldn't figure out. Because it's like, do I need to, if I buy this, do I need to go out and buy a load of other crap, or can I just use my shiny new team in this?
With their rules as they've written them in Dungeon Bowl, unless you want to tweak the team compositions for whatever reason, you'd have to go with one of their sort of Wizard League college formations and make a team up out of what they say you can make a team up out of.
What is the shiny new team you've bought there, Johnny?
This is the Necromantic Horrors team. And I've
cool.
bought it entirely because if it will focus, it's got a ghost with a washing line hanging out the bottom.
Which has got a special skill of no hands, so it can never carry the ball because it's just, insubstantial.
And a scarecrow, which also made me giggle, and all the pumpkins and shit. So literally I bought it because the models look wacky.
And it's got a couple
exactly
of werewolves.
The same reason. Yeah.
There's a Frankenstein special character you can have for them.
Yeah. And there's a werewolf catching a ball in his mouth.
Yeah. Wilhelm Cheney's a special star player werewolf who's caught the ball.
Yeah, so the same reason that I bought the Snotlings, which was the models are wacky, and I fucking love that.
That's cool.
And I don't really care anything else about the team, except I saw... Actually, this is when we went to play this game, we went around the exhibition, and they had a cabinet with all the Blood Bowl teams in it. And I was like, that fucker's got a pumpkin on his head. That one's got a pumpkin on his head. Mark, that one's got a pumpkin on his head. And that was that. That was sold. The only thing I did notice, though, is the teams they had in the cabinets at Warhammer World were way less wacky when it comes to the paint job. It's like someone had decided they wanted to paint them really gritty and realistic. It's like, but he's got a fucking pumpkin on his head. You know, we're not looking for weathering and realistic textures here. He's got a fucking pumpkin. And same with the Grots. They've made them really muted. And you think, no, wacky colours.
I guess the heavy metal guys just sort of like couldn't not make it gritty and realistic, or something on those lines.
Really wanted to make it kind of grim dark. Some of them were worse than others for that, but like incredibly painted as always. But it's like they're really trying to ignore the fun.
There's a goblin doom diver character that the goblins can have, and when you have a troll who picks them up and throws them, they can just spread their doom divery wings and glide a little bit further. There's so many silly things in it. It's a great game.
I just love the wackiness.
This is an unofficial variant of the game. It's not something Games Workshop have produced and printed, but the rules of Dungeon Bowl are, because you're not in an open field, if any player takes a pushback into a wall, they're going to get injured and potentially get their armor broken and take an injury. Street Bowl is the idea is that it's played down a street, and so both sides of the street have got walls, and if someone gets pushed off, they're going to get injured. It's really, really thin, and it's just another random little silly variant of the game you can play for a laugh.
Have you tried it?
I haven't. No. I might get a board built together or pick one up off Etsy or eBay at some point and give it a go, but we'll see how these tournaments go first. There are a couple of other ways to play the game as well. Blood Bowl 2, the one on the left there, is the current variant that is out and playable. It's got all the teams available as DLC and all this sort of stuff. It's not just on PC, it's on consoles as well. Blood Bowl 3 is out in February, I think. And so Blood Bowl 2 uses the rules from the Blood Bowl 2016 box version of the game. Blood Bowl 3 is using the rules from the second season, the current version of the rules.
So is the PC game turn-based, or is it real-time?
It's turn-based.
Okay.
And so they have a variant of a variable time limit per turn that you can ramp up from 2 minutes per turn to 4 minutes per turn.
I see. Okay.
When I had a quick look, it looked very much like the actual rules, to be honest.
It is the exact actual rules. It's so well done, and you don't have to worry about looking up the rules because it takes care of all the rules.
Clever. Okay, it seems
Is it good or is it a bad? I haven't actually played it. I just looked at it. Is it a good game?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. Disclaimer, as I must now state now that we're going into what I think about video games, I do work for a video games company. We're a distributor. We do have commercial interests in what video games sell and don't sell. So please be aware of any biases that I may have when you think about what I say about video games. But I really enjoy Blood Bowl 2. It's great fun.
Do I have to put a disclaimer every time I talk about anything related to physics?
You put a disclaimer at the start of the episode saying, don't listen to a fucking word we say, you morons.
Oh, yeah. And if I teach you, then you shouldn't be watching this because you're too young.
Pretty much.
I should just put a disclaimer that there will be salt whenever we speak about competitive 40K.
We know that. It's taken
we
as a
will.
given.
We don't need to highlight that.
When that Watch article came on today, I was like, right, this guy, he better be saying some things, because otherwise,
and he said maybe it didn't have that big of an impact on Space Marines as we'd hoped it might have. So there we go.
Yeah, I mean,
they also specifically said just because one guy won a big event with Blood Angels doesn't mean that Space Marines are fine and we're not going to do anything about them.
I know. I'm so glad that they said that. Actually, that's important. And I think you made a point that that I was most happy about off stream beforehand. You said that at least they're sitting down now and taking this seriously, and I think that's the biggest win here.
Yeah,
because,
which started obviously when all the Votan stuff kicked off. So
yes. So the guy at the end of the episode said they'd be back in 2 weeks. I would be so happy if every 2 weeks they're looking at balance, and we know they're looking at the balance and they're transparent about it. Sorry, we've derailed your Blood Bowl stuff. Let's get back on
fine. You asked how long a game takes. I addressed it ever so slightly, but a tournament game tends to be limited from the 2 tournaments I'm going to 2 hours for a full game or 2.5 hours for a full game, which is going to be really fast. You're thinking 3 or 4 minutes a turn, tops, involving all the dice and make sure you know your rules so you don't have to look rules up and all this sort of shit, because that'll take time out of it. 7s will be about half that, and if that's a full version of Blood Bowl 11s will be comparable to a game of 40k.
Okay.
roughly.
Cool. It's been a long time since I played Blood Bowl.
Yeah, you should. It's good.
Maybe I'll get a team.
It's got the rule book is, I think, probably my favourite Games Workshop rule book.
It's so well written. The level
that
of detail they go into.
It's got an index that works.
Yeah, they
Like, you can
cross-reference
look up
rules. They're well written to take care of rules lawyers who might want to pick and find loopholes in them. It's a really well done book. Let's be fair here. I mean, they don't have to take care of the amount of variety that 40k does.
They don't,
which is fine. But it's really.
It feels like a much better tournament game than 40k will ever be.
The flip side to that is it also kind of isn't, because the dice results can have a much greater result on a game of Blood Bowl than 40k.
Well, I suppose it's got more randomness in that respect, doesn't it?
Yeah,
you could
the dice
your
can
ones.
utterly fuck you. Whereas
the rules are much tighter, and there's a lot less janky interactions that can break it. You know, I watched a video the other day talking about balance in 40k and how it's not really possible. And the reasoning was quite strong and quite good. And the idea is that if you can table an opponent, it means you've broken the game.
Yeah.
And tournament play for 40k is, can I break the game more than you can break the game? And if I can break the game more, I win.
Yeah.
Whereas Blood Bowl seems so tightly written, you can't really break the game. I mean, there's going to be variations. There's going to be a little bit of balance tweaks. You're going to have to put the points up here and there, or the costs up, and change things ever so slightly. But largely, the game is not really breakable in a way of I'm going to win.
So similarly to 40k, GW have said and have kept to releasing a balance FAQ update every 6 months. One in November, one in 6 months from November, whatever that is. And they've been doing so, and they've been tweaking the prices of star players up and down a little bit if they've been overpowered. They've been issuing FAQs for popularly misunderstood misconceptions and so forth. And they've been releasing new teams fairly consistently. The Amazon team is looking awesome. The new Norse team looks awesome. The new Corn team looks awesome. They all look really, really good.
They're beautiful sculpts as well. Some of the best I've seen in years. The other one that's really impressed me at the moment is Underworlds. Underworlds has got beautiful monopose miniatures, and this is very much in the same vein. They're just really full of life, full of interest. The sculpts for all of the teams are really good, and you look at them and you're like, actually, all of these look amazing. Dwarfs have got a steamroller. Goblins have got guys with bombs on their heads. You know, they're hilarious models.
Yeah,
they're so brilliantly thought out and designed, and they're an absolute joy to paint.
The Norse team have got little pigs who carry kegs of beer around the pitch, and all of their team have got a special rule called drunkard, which means that when they try and go an extra space of movement, they stagger and fall over more readily than everybody else does. But they can be woken up by the smell of beer next to them if they start the turn lying on the floor. The pig can't pick up the ball, but it can foul you.
That's
so
brilliant.
Good. I love this game. If you want a game to pick up that isn't too expensive, isn't hard to get into, and is just frankly good fun, you could do a lot worse than Blood Bowl.
I had a look on eBay at people who have taken the box sets and pulled it apart and selling it as parts, and you can get everything you need to play Blood Bowl really cheap.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go with the whole big box set, you just want to get a few bits and pieces. Maybe none of the two teams in the box set are nice. They're cool. I quite fancy the Orc one, and I haven't got one, so that might be on the cards. But say you want to start off with some skeletons, you can, and you can get all the bits you need off of eBay fairly cheap to turn that into a game.
Yeah.
And that seems quite nice. A much lower entry point. Yeah. You look at 40k and you're thinking you need to spend realistically to be playing tournament, and I don't mean winning tournaments, I mean playing tournaments. So 2,000 points.
Rule book, codex, a chapter approved.
You're looking at
codex supplement, 400 or 500 quid on an army.
Quid minimum.
Yeah,
and that's if you go with someone like Custodes or something that you can really, or Space Marines, because you can get loads of monopose cheaper models. If you want to go Admech or Sisters of Battle or something, you're spending $1,000.
It's actually pretty crazy when you put it like that, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. This, you're into the game with everything you need for 2 players for 100 quid. And not just like getting started. No. You can take that to a tournament and have 2 different options. You've got star player. You've got everything you need to go winning tournaments with. For
More
2
so
people,
due to the inclusion of the
£100.
star player and the big guy with each of the teams in a starter set.
Yeah. That's incredible. Share it with a mate. Both of you go to a tournament. Then you can't. GW games aren't that cheap in general. It costs a lot of money to sort of get into this hobby. But this one's not. I've genuinely, after playing it with Mark, you guys know I do a lot with the school kids and things. The 2 games that I'm recommending to the kids at the moment, and I know a lot of them love 40k, and that's fine. They're incredible models. I can see why they love it. It's the same reason we do. But the parents are just like, sorry, how much?
Squeeze me. Baking powder.
That I've been selling, for want of a better term, this and Underworlds to these kids, because if you've got a couple of kids and you want them to get into a game and that, you can get them started and you get everything you need for a lot less money. It's a lot more palatable. Underworlds is the other one. You get everything you need for £25. And I think these sort of smaller games are actually tighter as well. They're easier to learn and they're a lot of fun.
What I want to see, if you're watching this, I want to see people's comments and suggestions as to what Blood Bowl team you think would be best suited for John.
Well, I mean, I do have the Midnight Marauders right here. They just need stripped and painted, I guess. 9-year-old John.
Humans are good, but humans are they're like
boring.
They're like the vanilla
standard.
D&D.
People turn up in D&D as a variant human. Everybody just looks at them like basic bitch.
The modern human team is less boring than it used to be. You can now take an ogre with a human team. It can also take a couple of halflings with it as well. Halfling hopefuls just run around and scurry and be annoying and cheap.
Shoot! Excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah, no worries.
I think we should get him a team. And then I'll paint it for him, and then we'll take it up to...
I'll paint it myself. How very dare you.
As long as it doesn't have
we were hoping to play before...
that's fine.
Before Ragnarok, sure.
Yeah.
If we get you a team, or if one of our viewers decides they want to support us on Patreon and get you a team or something, then you'll be painting it, and we'll be making sure you paint it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll paint it. I paint every week. I just paint slowly.
You paint more than me.
No way.
You do. You paint a lot more than me. On that subject, moving us on to the next stage, the usual stage that we have here. This is what John wanted us to see this week that you've been doing.
I have been doing all those Death Company at the front that don't have the edge highlighting. You can see that a couple at the back have nice edge highlighting, some that do not. So I'm working on those Death Company, but I was away at a GT this week, so I didn't paint I didn't paint on Saturday night. I was too tired. I played God of War, the new one. I'm really enjoying it. There's far too much swearing though, so like I can't play it in the living room when my kids are up, which really limits my playtime. I put it on for like 20 minutes, and the guy that's like Thor in it, Ryan Hurst from Walking Dead, and like he honestly says the F word like 20 times in like 2 minutes, and I was like,
that annoys me. That
okay.
I can't remember. I've played another game a while ago, and it was almost like we're going to make this game appeal more to teenagers by making every single sentence have an F-bomb in it. Nobody talks like that.
I think it's just God of War's a flat out 18, and that's the way it
was.
But
it is.
The only ones managed it without swearing all the time.
Do you know what? We don't get that many 18s in pop culture anymore. Like if you it just doesn't, like if you go back to the 80s, we were talking about movies a few weeks ago, like Predator, The Thing, Aliens, so many 18s. They just don't do it now, I guess.
You got a contrast, haven't you? On the one hand, you've got people like Disney and DC who want to cater to the mass market and as many people as they can. On the other hand, you've got Deadpool, which is a solid 18 rated.
All right, I mean, like Deadpool is
expletive laden bullshit.
It's not 18 rated, is it? Deadpool?
It is,
fucking
yes,
is.
100%, yeah. I
Definitely not. I bet it isn't.
There's some scenes he has with his girlfriend.
Deadpool is not an 18 certificate. I bet it's not.
It's his language, man. The language in Deadpool is exactly the same as God of War. Like, he says F word like 15 times in the first minute, so it's definitely going to be an 18. But yeah, so I didn't paint that much, but I took this to a GT, and I'm going to continue painting these Death Company. I'm probably working on more Death Company. My plan for the Christmas holidays is trying to...
15!
Oh, fuck you. All right, fine.
Okay, fine. My plan for the Christmas holidays is to finish all my Death Company and Sanguinary Guard once and for all. I've got about 25 of both of them, and then do other stuff. And I might even buy some armatures.
So the first thing I want to say is I still hate edge highlighting, and I'm never going to do it. That's a lie. I'm very, very rarely going to do it unless it's like in a majorly important situation, like a tank where you just can't do anything but edge highlight because you can't ink tanks really, really well. But how did the armatures do for you?
The 5 counts as OBSEC is kind of awesome in an army when you already have 3 OBSEC troop squads and Rights of War. So, like, essentially at any one point in time, I have like 40 OBSEC models on the board. So, I mean, that's fun.
And that matters. That makes enough difference.
It does against the super meta. Well, in the event, every list that I played was... Like, if you look at that Meta Watch article, I played Necrons 54%. I played 3 armies that were 54%, a 52, and a 50. So, like, we're behind statistically, I guess, in all the matchups. So, having counts as 5 OBSEC Knights that can move 12 inches and can advance 19 inches is actually pretty crazy. Because you can, if you have like just a few wounds left, you can just go, all right, I'm just gonna, because they still move 8 inches on 1 wound. So, like, even on 1 wound, you could play the full tilt stratagem that gives you a 17-inch move. If you can just touch an objective, you're like, well, that's mine because I'm counts as 5 in OBSEC.
Yeah.
Someone actually said to me they thought a better way that they could maybe have done the rules on those knights was they count for as many wounds that they have left. So if you have like a 26 wound knight, he counts as 26 OBSEC. But if he's on 1 wound, he counts as 1 OBSEC. Which I actually think would be cool because I think there's a tipping point there, right, where your knight's on like 2 wounds left and you're just like, well, I don't care, I'm just putting him on that objective, that's mine because he's 5 OBSEC. And it's kind of broken. And that's probably why I ran it, to give me more of an edge. And yeah, I'll be breaking it all down in the next few weeks on the BAC channel.
This is really bugging me, but why is one of your armatures different to the other 2?
Because I don't own, none of those models are mine. I just borrow 2 of them are Andrews and 1 is Gav's. The red one's Gav's, obviously the nicely painted one.
Okay. That was really bugging me. I was like, why is one different? Why is one different? I can't stop looking at that one. It's different.
Yes.
Why is that one different?
I do notice that both Dante and Mephiston are in this picture as well.
Yes, I don't think I'm going to take Dante in an event again. I hate how he's got no protection. It's mortal wounds. People just pick him off because he's got nothing.
That's fair enough.
And it's only 6 wounds. If he had 7 wounds, then potentially, like, you're talking 3 powers against him. Mm-hmm. With only 6, it's like, you know, they can do a power that does 3 mortal wounds, and they have a Doom Bolt that'll also do. It's so easy to kill him. I don't like him.
Yeah, fair enough.
You heard it here first. Blood Angels Comander does not like Dante.
But the rumor is he's getting a Primaris, so let's hope.
The rumour's been he's been getting Primaris for the last 5 years.
Okay.
Since there's been Primaris.
Nice. All right, well, let's move on.
Let's move on,
what have you guys been doing?
Not a lot, really. So I've found a new local group that runs on Mondays that I've been playing some Blood Bowl with. Work has been incredibly busy with peak season happening in the run-up to Black Friday and new releases taking place. I've not made the time to do any hobby or painting since finishing off my Blood Bowl team and meeting Tony the other week for some games. So I've not done anything since then, really.
That's fair. On this run up to Christmas, just for 1 second, then let me ask you a couple of video games questions. So God of War just came out. There's a new Final Fantasy game coming out on like the 13th.
Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. It's a remake of the PSP game. It's a prequel to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I love the PSP game. I've got like 3 copies of that.
It's that redone for PS4 and 5 and Xbox consoles and PC and stuff.
And then,
is it coming to Xbox?
Yeah.
Yes, it's coming to all the it's coming to all the consoles. So I've got God of War. I don't know how I'm going to get time to play that. That Final Fantasy game looks really good because it's sometimes when they do remasters, they don't put a ton of effort into it. This one, they looks like they've put a ton of effort into it.
Is it a remaster or is it a complete remake?
There's been a trailer put out today that the title for the trailer is "This game is not just a remaster."
Yeah,
So I'll leave it to you to go and look it up in your own time. Rather
As long as I
than
haven't fucked it up by like wedging a load of microtransactions or some bollocks.
no,
like
I
that in it.
don't think they have.
We can
and
only
then
hope.
The final thing that I noticed that has been flown under the radar, I don't even know if you know about this one, Mark. Have you heard of Midnight Suns?
I am very well aware of Midnight Suns. Yes. I know
Okay,
exactly what it
Midnight
is.
Suns. I don't know this one.
It's a game made by, published by Take-Two, who did
Yep.
the XCOM remakes recently, and
Yes.
it's a Marvel game. It's basically XCOM with Marvel superhero characters and villains in it.
Yes, it's exactly that. And the rhetoric for the game is that there will be one customizable superhero that is your character that you make.
Yeah,
Um,
it's all sort of like the Marvel Knights, the darker stuff. So you got Ghost Rider in there, you got the Punisher, Spider-Man, Wolverine's got more of an edge to him, and they're all fighting demon-related stuff.
Oh,
yes,
cool.
so
That sounds pretty wicked.
I'm a huge fan of the XCOM series. And
Reviews of
I-
it have just started to pop up online if you want to take a look at them.
Okay, cool. I realised that I assume the reason that we have no XCOM 3 is because these guys have been making Midnight Suns, and it's out like in 2 weeks. Like, there's been no. It's just like it's out in 2 weeks, which is not. Normally they're hyping the game for 6 months, unless I completely missed it. So I was like, wow, okay. So my Christmas period, I'm going to have.
It's a fairly niche market, isn't it? Sort of turn-based strategy games. There's not a big, because it's quite PC centric. I know they release them on other consoles and things, but playing turn-based games with a controller is a fucking nightmare.
If you want to talk more about it and what has happened around it, then I'm happy to do so off stream. But I'm not happy to do so here.
We can't get Mark in trouble now.
Yeah, let's not get Mark in trouble. But Midnight Suns for me looks interesting anyway. So
fair enough. Are you going to buy the new Pokemon, John?
I don't know much about Pokemon. I
was kind of cracking a joke. I assumed you wouldn't.
Okay. I actually don't know who's the oldest here.
I don't know. Is it? I think we're fairly. I had the original Pokemon on my Game Boy. I need to take it to school.
I don't mind.
I trade with my link cable.
Everybody, I am approaching 43.
Yes, I'm approaching 40.
So I'm the baby in this group.
You're the baby. Wow, I didn't realise that. And how baby are you? How old are you?
I'm 36.
Oh wow, okay. I would have never guessed. It's the beard.
It's the beard, and I've got an old.
Teaching has aged you. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Do you know one of the reasons I shaved it off was my wife was fed up with the fact it was so white. She's like, "You're in your mid-30s. You shouldn't have a white beard. You're not Santa."
You should have said to her, "Can I not do the children's?" I don't know what they do.
All right, I've had enough of looking at this.
Let's
my
move
shame has been publicised for everybody to see.
Shame.
That happens. You can't hobby every week, right?
So true. Although I have signed up to Brick of Br's little painting competition to give me some incentive to actually do some painting over the next month.
Aren't you judging it though?
I'm probably not going to be judging.
You're just going to judge yourself.
Oh yeah, fuck it. Yeah, I'm judging. What can I say?
I win.
Woo! I'll have all 4 special titles. Yeah, great. Woo. Whatever. Tony, what have you been doing?
I haven't done a lot of finished stuff this week. So over the last couple of weeks, you guys probably the 4 of you that watched it saw that I did a video on the laser destroyer. So I've got that starting painting. I've been buggering about getting some assault terminators done that I just haven't had done for ages. So I thought, let's get them.
Why is there 6 of them? Don't they come in 5s?
They do, but one of them is one of the Space Hulk terminators that I'm actually get my hand on. And I thought, well, I'll do them at the same time. So I've got 3 lightning claws and 3 thunderhammers there. Then there's a couple of custodians. There's Constantin Valdor that I've been tickling away with as a bit of just a thing for myself, really. I'm not really trying to do anything with that. I'm just having fun with the model because you can't use him in 40k anyway, although he's on the same base as a standard shield captain, so you can use him as a shield captain if you want. And
that's fair enough.
And then there's Valerian there as well, because I've had him kicking about for a while. Then in the background, you can see the 2 Calidus grav tanks. There's the Annihilator and then the standard one with the Iliastus accelerator cannons. The Art of War reckon is better, so that's why I haven't got 2 of those. And I'm going to try and trade it for another Annihilator because, I'm just
ask a question.
And there's a troll in there as well, in the middle.
Oh yeah, and there's a Blood Bowl troll in the middle there as well. So I've just got those. We did the video on the 2 grav tanks, and I thought I'd better get them painted up as well. Sorry, John.
Why is your teleport Homer not in the centre of the base?
Because I wanted more space on the base so that I could put more basing on the base.
Okay.
Is the answer?
Because that is going to annoy me if my teleport Homer was off centre.
Yeah.
So
I wanted a bit more space so I could put some bits on there because I thought it was a bit empty otherwise.
I had some teleport homers that I wrote stuff on just so I could use them as retrieve Octarius data markers.
Oh, clever. Oh, that's pretty clever. I noticed when I was on the GW site the other day that they're now selling the Blood Angels heroes, not the Terminator ones, the Firstborn Marines, in like those blind blister boxes, and they're pretty cheap. They're just like $5 a time.
Yeah, but
there's also a number of retailers that have got them in their
Angels,
Black Friday sales as well. Wayland Games had them in the sale, if I recall correctly.
The thing is, because you can buy the box and they guarantee that it's got one of each guy in there. But they're not Blood Angels. They're just red plastic.
It's true.
They're
marketed as Blood Angels.
So the Terminators were Blood Angels, and they had like Blood Angels markings on, and they're beautiful sculpted detail. These are just some Firstborn Bonapose Marines.
I don't think the Terminators were red Blood Angels, dude.
I don't think they were either. I think they were just Terminators that were also marketed.
But it just annoys me that they're just Space Marines. They've got no Blood Angel stuff on there. Anyway, so the other thing that I did finish was a super quick commission that I needed to do, and I had to do this in like 2 days. It was that tight a turnaround. The guy was like, at the weekend, he's like, I want to play with these on Wednesday. I was like, you've just given them to me.
They look really cool.
He goes, I did build them for you. I was like, you did build them, but they've immediately started falling apart on my desk.
What's that thing on the left?
That is a dog thing, like a cyber mastiff. That's the one.
Okay.
So yeah, he dropped these off and he was like, can you finish them? I was like, as I'm looking at the bits on the table as they fall apart where he's not glued them very well. Well, I can try. So I had to sort of like 2 nights to try and bosh these out. But we did. So this is an Orlok gang for Necromunda that I think had its first outing a day or so ago as we record this. Yeah, that was tight. As you can see from the bases, they were kind of like, how can I do a super quick base?
Just airbrush some contrast onto them in different colours and.
No, I used I think we talked about it in the last episode with some of the different materials. So not that one. I don't know what the actual one is. I used this Dirty Down.
The rust paint thing. Yeah.
The rust stuff to get a rust effect, and then I used a load of. I used a little bit of sand and things like that because he wants to be able to use them in ash waste as well. And then a load of different pigments to try and blend them in with the models and tie it all together and make it not look too boring. And also the rust effect, it looks good on smaller areas and it can look good if you've got loads of time to try and work it in and things, but just boshing it on there actually looked a little bit glossy. I didn't like the finish, so I had to go in there with the pigments to try and work it in a bit.
They look good.
So yeah, there's a lot of various like neon contrast.
When I come down and see you next year, I'm going to bring my I'm going to bring my Necromunda gang. I guess we'll turn up on the Friday, and I'll say to you, well, I'm leaving on the Sunday, so if you could just bash them out for me before I leave, that'd be great.
I was quite chuffed that I managed to do it in like 2 days because I only had the evenings to do it. I think I got the whole gang done in about 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, it's crazy. Your speed painting is crazy good.
I think my wording up there kind of conveys my opinion on the subject.
Yes.
I wouldn't get anything
Midwinter Minis a run for his money on speed painting. That's a competition I would like to see.
Your slap chop is impeccable.
Fuck off. Fucking annoys me that. I've still maintained everybody who's put out a slap chop video I've unsubscribed from.
Are you going to resubscribe to Duncan Rhodes?
No, dick. He had his opportunity. He made a point of saying that the contrast system was just like the older ink system, and Games Workshop just tweaked the formula and that to make it pull in the recesses. So he's quite happy to explain the history of somebody else's quick way of painting. But slap chop comes up, no, just takes it on face value.
Okay, if you say so.
Off you pop, Duncan. Off you pop.
Off you pop. I mean, he's only got like 300,000 subscribers. What does he know, huh?
Yeah.
It's about integrity, John. It's about integrity.
What else is going on at the moment? The new Guard Codex is officially released on Saturday from the time we're filming this, so that'll be in the past by the time of you, the audience,
I
watching
thought it was a 2-week period or something.
Yeah,
like
and that 2-week period is up.
No, it's not. It'll come out the day. It'll be 2 days after this airs.
Are you sure?
Perfect. Then remember to use the Element Games link, please.
So remember
guys.
to use our Element Games
right.
link to pre-order at the moment, but to get your copy on the Saturday it releases, which is 2 days after this comes out.
Yeah. Fair enough. There seems to be some positivity around it,
I don't
as
like
best
it.
I can tell. Why not?
Right. I will do a quick one because I think we're going to do a proper video on this. But
Is this going to be a rant?
no. It's from a competitive 9th edition Codex point of view. It's an excellent book. It seems to be quite well written. I haven't, in the little bits that I've seen so far, because I have seen some stuff from it. It seems
It's been fully
fairly
previewed online.
balanced. Yeah. It's fairly. It seems fairly balanced. They've done some good stuff with the way that you've got a nice bit of variety, but it doesn't go crazy, which means that they can control the interactions, which is quite nice. The one thing that I really, really don't like about this codex is how they've treated the alternative regiments. This is a Cadian codex. If you say you had a Catachan army, you're fucked. Sorry, you're fucked. It doesn't work anymore. You can run them as regular guardsmen.
Can't you just run them and give them special rules to?
No, they've got.
Or
You can
like
bring
their
in
own sort of custom chapter tactic variant things or
No,
something.
not really. The way they've done it is they've decided that all the old regiments are now units you include. So you'll include a unit of Catachans, but instead of these will be strength 4, and that was their thing. They were better in combat. Now, if you bring a unit of Catachans, they can only take flamers. So if you've got any models with the other special weapons, you can fuck off. Heavy weapons, not allowed them. And what they get is exploding 6s in melee. They're still strength 3. Now there is a trait that you can get which makes when you're building your thing that makes them slightly better in melee as an army, but because it doesn't synergize with the rest of the army, you're never taking that. So what they've done is they've made all those individual regiments this like, oh, I've got a unit of these guys, I've got a unit of these guys, and as far as I can tell, a lot of them like the Valhallans and things like that just gone.
So they might just do Codex supplement Catachan.
Well, it doesn't read like it because the way they've integrated them in, it feels like they've gone hard down the route of guardsmen are Cadians. Cadians are guardsmen, but you might have a special exciting guy. You know, Strachan's in there, Marbo's in there, but all the other, basically all of the other special characters are gone more or less, and they've got the new couple of Cadian ones. And Cadians are so flat better than any other type. The new Krieg ones they've got mini transhuman, but they're only strength 3 anyway. Toughness 3 anyway, so it doesn't really come into play that often.
No, hold on, it would do.
Now,
because almost everything's going to have one more strength than it. So
it was only mini, so it means that they're only wounded on a 3, not a 2.
Yeah, so
and you pay a lot of points for
on
that.
2.
You pay a lot of points for that as
Okay,
well.
all right.
So they're probably okay a bit. If you've got some spare points, you might upgrade a unit to them. But yeah, basically, the thing I don't like about it is they seem to have killed off the idea of having your regiment from your planet, and they've made it so you've got Cadians, or you've got Cadians that you've given a special
The
tactic
personalization, the whole sort of
to. Yeah, and it's like
customization aspect of it.
Stormtroopers are still in it, but they're just flat not as good as Kazakin, which are the Cadian Stormtroopers. So you'll never take them. It's a bit like Firstborn in the current Marine Codex. It's kind of like they've said they've given them a buff, and they have, but you're paying so many points for that buff, you'll never take tacticals. And that's kind of how they've done it with some of these, like Stormtroopers and that. There is a clever thing in there. If you only bring Stormtroopers, then they count again as troops, which is neat. But again, they're just flat not as good as Kazakin, so you wouldn't bring them the same points.
So that we don't rant on this too much then, and you can save some of it for your video when you do it. As we're recording this as well, there's going to be a big GW event in the US tomorrow and the day after, and a whole bunch of reveals imminently as well. So when you watch that, those reveals will have been out there and about.
Yeah. And we'll have the codex in our hands shortly.
Yeah,
so
hopefully.
I could be dead wrong, and I hope I am. I really
World
hope
Eaters are coming soon as well with Angron. So
yep.
There'll be
Angron's going to be no joke, is he? I'm a bit scared for that release,
he
honestly.
better be no joke. Otherwise, they'll have sort of half-assed it.
If he is a joke, I'll be a bit disappointed. If that makes
Yeah.
sense, he needs to be an absolute monster because at the moment he just looks like a big bloodthirster.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, he is a bloodthirster, but yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but he's supposed to be angry.
He's
He's
as
supposed
near
to be
as
something
damn it.
special, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he's got some special sauce that makes him a bit
I
interesting.
think it'd probably be on the same sort of level as who's the guy? It's not Belial. Belial's the name of the boss.
Bellicor,
Bellicor, that's the one, yeah.
maybe. Bellicor's more of a sort of a Buffy, bring them all together thing than Angron, who is just...
I suspect he'll be more of a Scarbrand kind of.
Yeah.
But I hope
But if anything's going to be a
because-
dedicated melee army that give Blood Angels a run for its money in that regard, then World
it
Eaters
should be
could do
cool.
that.
It should
Yeah.
be World Eaters, shouldn't it?
They lack the speed of the jump packs, but I imagine they'll have...
They're
the
basically
ability to
flesh
get their
terrors.
speed in other ways.
They're flesh terrors, but less shit.
They normally had a lot of advance and charge and 3d6 charge and stuff, didn't they?
Well, the main thing that they had was that you could usually fight twice. Because by being allowed to fight twice...
That
I
went
didn't
away in
realise-
the White Dwarf Codex thing they did, the stopgap one, though, didn't it?
I think it,
Yeah,
in the White before the Codex, you could fight 3 times.
Yeah, before that, yeah. In the
Now I
old
think
in the old 8th ed version of what they're...
some of them they can fight twice. I didn't realise this, because obviously fight twice is a special rule, but in the old version, if you could fight 3 times, did you know this? You could actually just use that to get 18 inches of free movement.
Yeah, because every
you could-
time you're activated to fight, you can pile in one way or the other.
Yeah, so like, if essentially Khorne Berserkers could get 18 inches of free movement in turn 1 if you wanted them to.
Yep.
Basically piling in and consolidating towards the closest 3 times in a row, which is fucking crazy.
I like
yeah.
it, if I'm honest. I want Berserkers to be scary and melee, just a bit difficult to... They're just a bit inflexible, and that's how they should
true.
be.
I want
True.
the new Berserkers to be in the free miniature of the month so I can get a Berserker model for my big collection of one model from every army. Because I'm still missing a Berserker.
Nice.
Fair enough.
I could probably get you a Berserker from Brett, by the way.
What, when the new ones come out? Because the new ones are going to be awesome.
Oh, I suppose the new ones.
I don't think the old ones are that bad. I remember
They're
I've
not.
got the White Dwarf when they come out, and I was super excited. I even had a 1,500 point Khorne army led by Khan the Betrayer, and it was just Khan the Betrayer and about 4 boxes of Berserkers.
It's fair. There's something about just a wall of Berserkers and some Bloodthirsters charging towards you. Those Juggernauts are awesome. I wish they'd do more sort of Juggernaut cavalry. They were cool.
Juggernauts of Khorne are awesome, yes.
I just think they're wicked cool. Yeah, I do like them. I've got that Terminator from Warhammer Plus coming, so I'm quite excited
cool.
to get him.
Oh,
painted.
you managed to get them to respond to you. I
I did.
replied
To be
back
fair,
mine.
they were very good.
I replied back following my query up, and they haven't come back to me yet. So
I contacted them and said, look, I've got a year subscription. Why can't I have my model? And they got back to me the next day and said, it looks like it's a bit of a mistake. Can you send me your address and we'll send it out to you now?
they did better for you than me, then. More power.
So apparently I've got a notification it arrived today, but I arrived at my workplace and I haven't spotted it.
Fair enough. The next points update, chapter approved stuff is due at the end of January.
Long away.
So I
innit?
guess 40k is what it is for the next couple of months.
All good fun. Right, I think we need to round this off now because we're babbling.
That's true. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you watched this far, we appreciate it. If you value what we do, if it's funny, if it's a laugh, you get any value out of it, please consider having a look at our Patreon and chucking us a few quid every month to keep supporting what we do and help us buying new content to review and look at for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yep. Find the fun. Don't get too salty. I feel like I've been a bit salty today. I don't mean to be.
Yeah, been a little bit,
John-
yeah. But we did prompt you.
Yeah, John's a salty one. He's like a really salty crisp. And don't know where that came from. But yeah, so subscribe responsibly. And don't forget to click the like button. It helps us out. Or the dislike button. It also helps us out. Technically.
Yeah, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right. Cheers, guys.
Peace.
Toodles.